Hey my loves, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Ejire Igoroje. I'm a makeup artist based in Lagos, Nigeria. In today's video, we'll be creating this beautiful soft Yoruba glam look from start to finish. If this is your vibe, keep watching. Alright, so we are starting with brow grooming. My model actually has very scanty brows, so I'm not removing too much hair. I'm just cleaning a little bit underneath the brows so I have a neat area when I go in with concealer. I still want to keep a natural brow shape. Okay, so now I'm moving on to skin prep. And funny enough, I actually forgot that my phone wasn't recording when I was applying moisturizer earlier. I didn't realize until I had already finished, but proper skin prep is really important because it helps to make the makeup sit nicely on the skin. Okay, so I'm just focusing more on hydration when it comes to the skin prep. I'll be introducing a face mask, so this is like, will I say, hydrating or moisturizing face mask. So I just really wanted hydration on her skin. So let's begin with our story time. All right, guys, this is going to be a little bit sensitive or emotional. I don't know how most people are going to see this story, but it is my story, and I am, responsible for it. And I am, it's my story, and and I want people to actually learn. Maybe I know there are a lot of people that might be going through what I had gone through, or what I am experiencing currently. So anyways, growing up, I actually had a really fun childhood at the beginning. I had a lot of friends in my neighborhood, and most of us, we went to the same school and even went to the same church. Like, we basically grew up in an estate. Like, we basically did everything together. So we were always together, playing, laughing, just enjoying, like, being kids and having lots of fun. During the holidays, we'll come out to play. We did like a whole lot of games. I don't know, like, I had lots of fun when I was much younger, during my childhood times. So don't forget, you need to dry down your skin prep. Okay, so now we're going into foundation. I like to start from the jaw area, then proceed with the, because I don't like too much product. Okay, so we're starting small. We just going in portions. You don't need to like pack the whole product and just deposit it in one place. You go in portion. You see that I'm not jumping from the cheek to the jaw to, no, to the forehead. I make sure I finish one area before I proceed to the next area, to make sure that I'm getting all the coverage that I need, to for her skin. All right, so I want the skin to feel natural. You can see that from the skin prep that I did. You can see the glow is actually coming from underneath her skin. That's what I want the makeup to reflect. Okay, so back to our story. So but as I grew older, things started to change at home. There were times where my dad would beat my mom, like domestic violence. I can remember the first knowledge I had, and that memory, I can actually even say the story because it is, I don't even know how to place it. Right, the first time I ever saw my dad lift his hand to beat my mom, I can never forget that day. Like, we were kids, we cried. Me and my siblings, we were crying, we were begging our dad to stop. My mom ran outside, like, it was everybody came in the neighborhood, people were shouting and begging my dad to actually stop doing that. And as a child, it was something that was really difficult for me to understand. Okay. So now I just went into contour to bring dimension back to her face, and then a little bit of blush to bring warmth back to her skin. But, but during that period, I started to become very withdrawn. I remember feeling a lot of shame and confusion. And because of that, I started hiding away from my friends, away from people. So now I'm applying concealer under the eyes to brighten the face and highlight the high point, you know. So when you're young, yeah, experiences like that can really affect how you see yourself and the world around you. Oh, I remember how all this affected me in my academics, in me relating to people. I used to be this child that I would play, I made lots of friends, but it started drawing me maybe to even the wrong set of crowd, the wrong set of friends, not wanting to be at home. I want to be in other people's houses because I felt maybe I could find solace, I could find peace in those places. I started keeping to myself because I didn't want to tell people my story. I didn't want people to know what was actually happening in my house. And, you know, after applying concealer to brighten under the eyes, I'm just going to set under the eye area first, because this is where creasing actually happens the most. But um you want to do that like really, slowly and light-handedly, and make sure that you spread it around that area. You can see how I'm doing it gently. So back to my story. But as time went on, I started realizing that I didn't want these experiences to define who I would become. I remember how I used to dream about things, who I want to be in life, where I want to be, and because of most of these things that I've experienced, even my dad, he would abuse us like his kids. He would do a lot of things that, till today we are trying to heal from that trauma. Me and my siblings were trying to heal from that trauma. These are things that kids should not, experience at all. So now I'm setting the face, I'm setting the contour. I'm going to set her blush. I'm using this my Juvia Place palette. I love that shade, that brown shade there, because it kind of had like an orangey feel. So like I said earlier, or I don't know if I said it, but I didn't want the contour to be like so deep or so dark. I wanted it to have this burnt orangey, tone. Yeah, and that is why I'm going for shades like this. I want the look to be as clean as possible, as clean as it can be. That's why I'm going into shades. So product that you actually pick are very important when it comes to your bridal look. So you should know why, when, and where to use certain product. So I'm going into blush. I'm going to set the blush. Then now I'm going to set all over our face. I'm using this um Makeup Forever powder, two shades. I think that would be like 445 and 405. I think I'm using those two shades. Anyway, so I started rebuilding my confidence. You get, and rebuilding confidence doesn't happen overnight, but little by little, I started finding things that made me feel like myself again. And things like makeup, for example, it's when I start doing makeup, it helps me, it takes my mind away from a lot of trauma, a lot of troubles, you know Anyway, so now I'm moving on to the eyes. I use the combination of two palettes, this Juvia's Place palette and Anniesbeauty's palette. So I'm trying to create a soft look. But before then, I actually went into setting the nose contour, defining that nose contour, and I'm using that same Juvia Place palette. And after that, I went into baking. In my last video, I talked about baking. If you don't want your look to be dry or matte, please avoid too much baking. You don't need to bake for too long. Yeah, but for this look, I was going for something very clean. I really wanted, in as much as I wanted it to be dry, you understand, I really wanted that look to come out as seamless as it can be. So going now into the eye, I'm using my eyeshadow base. This is from Cindy's Beauty. I'm using the eyeshadow base, then I'm going back into my Juvia's Place palette and working that brown shade from the inner corners of her eyes, flushing that, to the ridge of her nose, down to up to her brow hairs, so just for using that same um brown shades, okay, to give me that flawless look around that areas. And I'm also using it at the outer corners of our eyes. So remember guys, we are dealing with zero hash lines. We don't want any hash lines, so be very mindful of the product you are picking, the tools you are picking. You want to be sure of what you are doing, because trust me, this is a bridal look. So now going into my Anniesbeauty palette, I'm going into this reddish, is it, will I call it red, or I'll say wine mixed with brown. Okay, so I don't want it to be like so wine or so brown, but so I'm kind of mixing those two shades and working that into her crease. So I'm working it from the outer corner of her eyes into her crease area. I'm just going to blend that. Okay, blend that in seamlessly, and I'm using the circular motion method to apply that. So then I went into a clean eyeshadow brush just to blend any harsh lines. So I don't want to see any harsh lines on from the brow bone to the crease. So I'm trying to like transition them seamlessly into each other. So right now I went back into my Anniesbeauty palette and I'm applying this very dark brown shades on the eyelid, okay, before I actually apply my eyeshadow, because I want that eyeshadow to actually pop. So hence why I'm using this method. I'm sure most of you have not seen me use this method before. Yeah, so going into glitters, the glitters I'm using is from, I think, Luster, and I'm using their glitter glue also. So you want to carefully apply that just on the eyeshadow lid. You don't want to go above it. So even if you see me going above, I'm just using the leftover on my brush, just to make sure that there is no harsh deposits, and I'm just going to use it to dilute that area. Going into my eyeshadow, placing it just directly on the eyeshadow lid, just directly, don't go above it, okay, because you don't want that to go on the crease, because by the time you go on the crease, it's actually now the eyelid is going to lose form. It's not going to give you what you're actually imagining that you are going to get, okay, especially for someone like her that has like hooded eyes. So you just want to stay on that area, because if you go above that area now might tend to swell, okay. So that's why you see me use that dark shade on the crease to make sure that I'm hiding any puffiness in that area. So I actually use three different shades of this glitters. Okay, now I think I'm using a pigment. There's this pink pigment that I'm using, so I'm just putting it in the middle part of our eyes. Then I went in with the high shine, I think, is it in beam or something, I've forgotten the shade, but is a pigment from Luster cosmetic also. So I use that high shine in the middle. I think you'll be able to see it. If you zoom in, you see it. I use that in the middle. So anyways, it became so, like, back to our story. After rediscovering my confidence, it became a creative space where I could express myself and see beauty again in everything, right? So I really love doing makeup, trust me, because it has helped me a lot. So I went into the lips. I wanted something soft that can complement the overall look without, overpowering the eyes. Then I did my eyeshadow. I did my lashes off camera. I defined the brows off camera. So, and of course, mascara. I'm using the mascara to open the eyes and put the whole look together. Like, if you've been following me on YouTube, you see where I talk about finishing touches. Finishing touches are very, very important. I don't play. Like, if you want to take your look from 0 to 100, focus on finishing touches. Like, go back into that powder, go back into that blush, go back into that glow, go back into that eyeliner. If you need to pop the eye more, go back in, just do all the necessary touch up. If you think you need to line the lips more or make it look brighter, do all those final touches, because that is what is going to define your look. That's what is going to make your look feel luxury. That's what's going to make your look, give, what it's supposed to give, what that imagination in your head is supposed to give. So I'm just going into glow. I'm using this one from Fenty, and I'm using this loose highlighter also from and what they call it, so pro. I'm sure you guys would have seen me use it a lot of times. So guys, now I'm just, doing the finishing touches, making sure everything is blended properly, anyways. And looking at the final result always reminds me that our past experiences don't have to limit our future. You get, sometimes the very thing that once made us feel small can eventually become part of the story that shapes who we are. So don't forget, guys, to use your Seal It spray. No, you didn't see me using a lot of spray, because I didn't actually make any recording of me using any of my spray. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I love you guys, and see you in my next beauty video. Bye.